They keep flagging my videos, saying I'm glorifying violence, but I'm not promoting anything. I'm just teaching history, real history, black history. But I'm being flagged. Meanwhile, there are hundreds or even thousands of videos where folks rapping about murder, glorifying crime, and those stay up. But me, talking about what actually happened, that's too much. But that's how it's always been. Back then, if you told the truth, they came for you. And that brings us to one of the deadliest massacres in American history, one they barely even mention. Opelousas, Louisiana, 1868. Yep, that's the same year as the massacre in St. Bernard Parish. And just like in St. Bernard, it all started with black political power. Earlier that year, in April, Louisiana held a major election. Republican Henry Clay Warmoth, just 26 years old, won the race for governor. A brand new state constitution gave black men the right to vote and go to school. And guess what? They voted in large numbers. They helped Republicans win big. Democrats, who controlled everything before the Civil War, were pushed out. They weren't just upset, they were humiliated. And by the way, Henry Clay Warmoth, the same man who won because of black votes, yep, he didn't stay loyal for long, but I'll tell y'all more about that in another video. That Republican victory hit hard, and not long after violence broke out in St. Bernard Parish, word spread. You already know folks were whispering. Did you hear about what happened in St. Bernard? They tried to rise up. We better not let that happen here. By September, Opelousas was a pressure cooker, and then came the spark. Emerson Bentley, an 18-year-old white teacher from Ohio, was teaching black kids at a freedmen's school. He also wrote articles for the Republican newspaper, the St. Landry Progress. He wasn't starting trouble. He was just telling the truth, calling out intimidation, educating the next generation. But in a world built on white supremacy, that made him dangerous. One morning, he found a note on the schoolhouse door, "Beware, KKK," with a coffin, skull, and a dagger dripping in blood. On September 28, they made good on that threat. 3 white men stormed into the classroom. One of them, James Dixon, who would later become a judge in Opelousas. These weren't just thugs. They were politically connected white men, people with power. They dragged Bentley outside, made him retract his article, and beat him in front of the kids. The children thought he was dead. They were traumatized. They ran for help. When parents and neighbors came to check on Bentley, white folks started spreading a lie. Black people were planning a riot. That was the excuse they needed. Opelousas was a majority white town, and at any moment, there were hundreds of white men ready for war. What happened next was pure terror. For 2 weeks, white mobs went house to house, dragging black people out, shooting them in the streets, jailing them, then executing them. Over 250 black people were murdered. Some were displayed in public as warnings, others were dumped in shallow graves. Even C.E. Duran, the other editor at the Republican newspaper, was murdered and his body left outside for everyone to see. Now, Bentley survived. He escaped to New Orleans, but he wasn't able to return. The school shut down, the newspaper shut down, the Republican Party in Opelousas, gone, black property owners, killed or run out of town. And here's the part that really hits. Black people didn't vote again in Opelousas for 85 years. 85 years. That's almost 4 generations of silence. Not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. Because voting meant risking your life. And today, there's no plaque, no memorial, no public acknowledgement. And I know a marker won't change the past, but it would mean something. It would mean they were seen, that we still remember. But like so many of our stories, they'd rather it be erased. They may not ride up in hoods anymore, but the system, still the same. Back then, they beat the teacher, burned the paper, killed the voters. Today, they ban the books, fire the teachers, and flag the videos. Same playbook, different tools. It's always been about power and who they think deserves a voice. If you're still watching, like, comment, share, and follow, because they're still trying to silence us. But we're still here, still telling the truth, and we're not stopping. Remember to subscribe for more videos that they won't put in your textbooks. Peace.